Everybody. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our police officer attestation ceremony this evening. My name is Phil Hayes. I work in the uniform training department at our Force Training Centre. I'll be your MC for this evening. I look forward to telling you about the journey that our new officers have embarked upon so far in Greater Manchester Police. Before we start the ceremony, I'll just run through a bit of housekeeping, please. We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire drill does go off this evening, we will need to leave, so the nearest exits are just on the left here, or there's some further ones at the back of the room. Just follow one of our officers, we'll guide you out. If anybody needs to use toilet facilities, they're on the left, just down the corridor. Can I ask you to please switch your phones either off or on silent? You can be taking as many photographs as you want during the ceremony, so you might want to just put them on silent so you can take photographs. We do have a force photographer that will be taking photographs, and those will be sent through to you when they're ready. You're going to want to clap this evening at every opportunity, I'm sure. What's going to happen is we'll be bringing officers up at 10 at a time. So I'll be reading 10 names out individually. They'll all be standing up and then they'll come to the front. As they come to the front, that's when we'll give them the round of applause, please. We'll also be singing the national anthem at the beginning of the ceremony, and you'll find that on page 3 of your booklets there. We'll start the ceremony very soon. I just want to welcome everybody that's watching online this evening. We are live streaming this to Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, so welcome to all those people that couldn't make it here this evening. I'm just going to play a short video. It's a couple of minutes long, just as an introduction.
Hello, Greater Manchester Police. How can I help?
We've got officers on the way, so you stay in the car, okay?
Okay, can you now welcome, please, the Chief Constable, Mr. Ian Hopkins, Deputy Mayor of Manchester, Bev Hughes, and our officiating magistrate for this evening, Mrs. Joan Cooper. Now to welcome the people you've really come to watch. Please put your hands together for our new recruits. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Please can I ask Mr. Ian Hopkins, our Chief Constable, to say a few words of welcome. Sir?
Thank you, Phil. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and in particular, good evening, Lord Lieutenant Mr. Warren Smith, Lord Mayor of Manchester, Mr. Abid Chohan, and to our new recruits, a warm welcome to all of you. And if we have any viewers on Facebook, then you're welcome too. So it is a real pleasure to welcome you here this evening to Manchester Grammar School. This is a... Shall we start again? Hopefully. This is a very special ceremony for our new colleagues that are joining us here in Greater Manchester Police. It is actually a legally binding ceremony, and the oath that our new colleagues will swear in a short while could not be sworn unless it was in the presence of a magistrate. And we're delighted that Joan Cooper, our resident magistrate who helps us with these, officiate these events, is here to support us again this evening, but importantly to do the legal bit. I would also very much like to welcome Baroness Beverly Hughes, the Deputy Mayor for Greater Manchester, who has responsibility for police, crime and fire. And it's great that Bev will be supporting the ceremony this evening. And finally, I'd just like to thank Manchester Grammar School for hosting us here. I think this is the second time that we've used this venue, and it really is a fantastic place in which to hold such a prestigious ceremony as the swearing in of new police officers for Greater Manchester. So tonight, my colleagues will swear an oath to be impartial and fair to everyone they deal with and to serve Her Majesty the Queen. You are taking an oath this evening that gives you unique powers over your fellow citizens to take away their liberty and to, where necessary, use reasonable force. And with this unique power comes unique responsibility and unique levels of scrutiny. So standing before your peers, families and members of this school community, swearing the oath is something that's very powerful and is your commitment to each other and the public of Greater Manchester that you're dedicating yourself to a life of public service, the highest standards of integrity. It means you have to set the highest standards for yourself, both in your personal and your professional lives. Now, you're joining policing at a very important time. Never before has policing been as complex and as challenging as it is at the moment. And it's certainly far more challenging than when I joined in January 1989, which is probably when a lot of my new colleagues weren't even born, sadly, but that's another story. In those days, policing seemed a very simple world to the one that we operate in these days. We had no DNA technology, we had no mobile phones. Can you imagine a world with no mobile phones? How nice would that be? No 24-hour news, let alone the internet. And now colleagues will find themselves dealing with things that happen on the internet, happen in cyberspace. Offenders might be in a different continent. Victims may have travelled thousands and thousands of miles to be in this country. And they're as likely to find themselves dealing with disputes on Facebook as they are neighbourly disputes in our streets. But the scrutiny they face in relation to their actions is significant, and in many ways you would expect this given the unique powers that police officers hold over our fellow citizens. They are filmed constantly, and anything they say and do and their actions can be posted on social media and be around the world in minutes. And I would just remind you, don't ever forget that fact. Now, whatever journey you've taken to join Greater Manchester Police, you are part of our ambition to be the most effective team with the most talented people that we can attract from our diverse communities right across Greater Manchester. And tonight is a significant moment in your police career, and one that you will always remember. And I wanted to just take the opportunity to remind you why policing is so important to society and why that should drive you every single day. Now, we are all privileged, ladies and gentlemen, to live in a democratic society. And one of the fundamental pillars of as a democracy is that citizens should be safe, both from physical harm and from discrimination and hatred. Now, Greater Manchester Police's purpose is to protect society and to help keep people safe. And to my new colleagues, this is your purpose every single day. You should do your utmost to carry out this purpose to the best of your ability. But I want you to go beyond that. See, I'm the chief, I'm never satisfied, okay? Good is not good enough in GMP. I want you to go beyond your purpose. You have a responsibility to improve the service that Greater Manchester Police provides each and every day. And when you finally complete your service, you should be able to look back and proudly say, I've done everything I can to leave Greater Manchester Police in a better place than when I started in 2019. Put simply, you are the future of policing. Please don't waste that opportunity. And this is partly why we hold our ceremonies in locations like this, in a more public setting, in a community setting, away from a police premises. So swearing your oath in a public setting, I wanted to do that, to reinforce with you, we are here to serve the communities of Greater Manchester. We're here to try and keep places like Manchester Grammar School, its staff and its pupils safe. In my opinion, you have joined one of the best police services in the UK. I know I'm ever so slightly biased, but I would reinforce that. You know, we do some utterly amazing things day in, day out as an organisation. It is fair to say it is one of the most challenging, and it will test your strength of character and your intellect regularly. And never has this been more true than in the last few years. As Greater Manchester, we've faced the largest terrorist attacks since 7/7, numerous extremist protests, murders and community events that have seen the force stretched and need mutual aid more than ever before. Cities across the UK have experienced disruption from Extinction Rebellion protests, and at the end of the month we have our very own one of those to contend with. As a police officer, you never know from one day to the next what you will face. Only in the last few months, we have been so busy across GMP, extraditing a man from Libya for the murder of 22 people at the Manchester Arena, jailing a gang of men for importing £15 million worth of drugs, and officers showing tremendous courage, running into a busy motorway at night to save a man's life who had jumped from a bridge and landed in the path of the traffic below. This demonstrates some of the variety of work that colleagues are involved with, but also some of the risks that you face. And you have to maintain your professionalism at all times. I am sure, though, that given the very tough selection processes that you have been through, you will rise to this challenge. What you can rely on, though, is that Greater Manchester Police is a team, and teams look after each other. So when you need help, guidance, or a shoulder to cry on, there will be somebody there to support you. I'll say a few more words at the end, but for the moment, I just wanted to end by wishing my new colleagues a fantastic career and asking them to be proud of being a Greater Manchester police officer. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. The new officers here tonight will be swearing an oath to Her Majesty the Queen. Can I therefore ask you all to turn to page 3 in your booklet and stand to sing the national anthem? Guests, please be seated. Our new constables are now going to take their oath. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in the office of constable with fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights, and according equal respect to all people. And that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved, and prevent all offences against people and property, and that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all the duties thereof, faithfully according to law. Please lower your right hand. Please be seated. I will now invite our new officers to sign their memorandums of appointment in front of the magistrate. Can the following officers please come forward? Andrew Aspinall, Daniel Barber, Joseph Barker, Danielle Beasley, Max Begley, Mark Bennion, Harrison Bezick, Paul Birch, Sophie Booth and James Boyd. I've jotted down some things you may be interested in, which tell you about the journey that tonight's attestees have embarked upon. Your attestee is one of almost 700 new officers that Greater Manchester Police are taking on this year. Recruitment has been from both within the organisation and externally. All bring vital and varied skills to their roles as an officer. 11 have been special constables, 10 have been PCSOs, and 12 have been police staff. 38 have a degree. We have 12 new recruits who began with Greater Manchester Police on our very successful apprenticeship scheme. 15 have done regular voluntary or charity work in their community, and 2 have gone as far as Kenya and Thailand to help people. 4 are multilingual, and 2 are ex-military. We have a great British softball player, a horse eventer, a ballroom dancer, and a lifeguard. And we also have 7 officers following in family footsteps in joining the police service. All have dreamt of becoming a police officer. Can the following officers please come forward? Sophie Broadhurst, Teddy Brogan, Alex Broom, Chloe Brown, Michael Bucket, Samuel Burgess, Adil Butt, James Carter, Stephen Casey, and Jamie Lee Clark. I have a few more facts and figures for you. Greater Manchester Police is the second largest police force in the country after the Metropolitan Police Force. We currently have 6,365 regular officers, 365 special constabulary officers, 3,953 police staff, plus 621 PCSOs, 175 volunteers, and 387 cadets. Last year, our force dealt with around 29,500 burglaries, 17,500 shoplifting offences, 32,000 vehicle offences, 10,000 sexual offences, 46,000 domestic abuse incidents, 42,000 public order offences, 9,000 hate crime offences, and 65 murders. And that just scratches the surface of what GMP deal with. We also deal with thousands of other crimes as well as neighbourhood and community issues. We forge strong links with the community and with partner agencies, working together to reduce crime and improve people's lives. Can the following officers please come forward? Simon Cleworth, Kieran Connor, Alexander Cook, Andrew Cooper, James Cooper-Roby, Jennifer Corlett, Kerry Cotton, Emma Critchley and Claire Daly. We were just a bit late with the clapping then for that mobile phone, weren't we? Yeah. I expect you want to know how your new officer is going to be able to deal with all the incidents that I've just been telling you about. Well, the first thing you need to know is that no officer's on their own. We are Team GMP, as the Chief Constable mentioned in his opening speech. We are a family. We all pull together and support each other. We start that on day one of training and continue that every day thereafter. The students are allocated a student officer, assessor development coordinator, who is responsible for their training, support and development for their time in the workplace in the first 2 years. Initial training is 20 weeks, then the officers continue to be monitored and developed during the first 2 years, which is known as their probationary period. I think it's fair to say that they will continue to learn all the time they are in the job, and professional development will play a key part in this. In the first few weeks of training, your officers will have an introduction to GMP and will see many guest speakers. They will be taught communication skills and learn about human rights, the code of ethics and equality issues. They will start their diploma in policing, which can take up to 2 years to complete. Can the following officers please come forward? Melissa Daniels, Crystal Davis, Sarah Dimalamista, Colette Dixon, Jonathan Downs, Jack Dugdale, Edward Egan, Sean Elsden, Megan Fay, Tabosumbanu Fafawawala. Your officers tonight have been warranted with policing powers. This is a major step. They are now able to take away someone's liberty by arresting them. They can also stop and search suspects, force entry into premises and seize property. They will soon learn about the correct use of arrests, cautions and significant comments and searching people after they've been arrested. Later in the course, they will move to an area training base where they will receive an in-depth learning, including searching of vehicles, premises and land, as well as statement writing. They will be taught, amongst other things, crime prevention, how to deal with victims and witnesses, how to gather and use evidence, how community policing works, how to acquire and use CCTV evidence, how to respond to incidents, how to identify and deal with hate crime, how restorative justice works, and most importantly, how to keep people safe and play their part in improving people's lives. Can the following officers please come forward? Michael Fisher, Callum Flood, Jack Flynn, Gary Foster, Louise Gayshar, Alexandra Giblin, James Gillespie, Alan Graham, Jake Guest and Haran Hahn. As I said previously, each student has a period of 2 years in which to complete their initial training and then develop into their new role. The majority of the first 20 weeks is based in the classroom, but there are plenty of opportunities for students to put into practice what they learn. This includes practical scenarios designed to test their decision-making and problem-solving. The officers are then placed on their districts for 10 weeks with a tutor constable who is responsible for ensuring that they are ready for independent patrol. Then, after 10 weeks on their districts experiencing working on the streets, they come back to the training school to work on a fictitious criminal case from start to finish. They will take part in an exercise that will give them the opportunity to produce a prosecution file from scratch. They gather evidence, compile statements and other necessary documentation before submitting the file for checking. The case is then taken to court. On occasions, we enlist Manchester University law students who are training as barristers and a volunteer magistrate to make it as real as possible. Can the following officers please come forward? Jordan Hall, Jack Hargreaves, Elizabeth Harmer, Christopher Harris, Lorraine Hayter, Lee Hurd, Saraya Holloway, Lauren Howarth, Francesca Hulston and Lauren Jackson. Your officer will begin work on a local policing team on their district. They will respond to incidents and also get involved in problem solving and working with partner agencies and the community to tackle repeat problems. Offences like antisocial behaviour and shoplifting are committed by a tiny percentage in the population of these communities, many of whom are affected by drug or alcohol issues. Working effectively and efficiently with other agencies can help everyone involved. So in a nutshell, the role of your officer will be to deal effectively with the 3 Vs, the vulnerable, victims and the villains. They will need to stay positive and treat every person they meet with dignity and respect. Can the following officers please come forward? William Jevons, Thomas Johnson, Callum Jones, Callum Khan, William King Wilson, Gary Knight, Daniel Lasley, Jack Latham, Ryan Little and Natalie Lyons. The types of things our officers deal with are very varied and can change every day. This is what happened in one particular 24-hour period from 7 a.m. Friday morning to 7 a.m. Saturday morning in the city centre. It's worth keeping in mind that this snapshot covers just 2.2 square miles. There were 146 calls to the police in total for many different reasons, but the main ones were 17 for theft, 14 about antisocial behaviour, 2 about people with mental health problems, 14 related to violence, and 3 were concerned for adult safety. In that 24-hour period, 100 crimes were committed. Can the following officers please come forward? Hannah McNeil, Amy Maguire, Idris Mahmood, Zachary Marsden, Elise Martindale, Paul Matthews, Peter Maud, Nathan Maudsley, Bailey McCrory, and Boris McDowell. Your officers have already spent time on their home districts, meeting their new teams and getting to know some of the key people in the community. Community policing is increasingly at the heart of what we do, and you may have already read some stories in the newspapers about the kind actions of our staff. Orla Lynch and Stephen Dixon sourced a new mobility scooter for an elderly man after his was stolen twice. On another occasion, Stuart Well popped into an elderly couple's home and had a cup of tea and a chat with them after they'd phoned the police to say that they were lonely. Whilst these instances are not exactly within the defined role of an officer, it gives an indication of the world we live in and the problems that our communities are facing. Can the following officers please come forward? Lauren McKay, Nathan Meadows, Dean Morgan, Riaz Patel, Daniel Redman, Louise Sale, Hannah Scholes, Jessie Seed, Chelsea Sharp and Daniel Shenton. We've been recruiting officers on this scale for the past 3 years. The first few groups of officers to be attested in this way have now passed their probation and their policing diploma. At this year's J&P Stars Awards, our annual awards ceremony, one of our new recruits, Catherine Greenwood, won an award for first aid. Attending a call where the victim had been stabbed over 14 times, the most serious wound was to her jugular vein. Catherine stemmed the bleeding, kept her calm and saved her life. Another new recruit, James Booth, won the Top Student Officer Award. James is now a valued member of the response policing team in Wigan and has recently been promoted. He is an officer who can be relied upon by both peers and supervisors, consistently providing an excellent service to the public and his colleagues within Greater Manchester Police. Can the following officers please come forward? Liam Short, Dominic Shout, Amanda Smith, Annalise Stewart, John Stewart, Rebecca Sutcliffe, Jack Swain, Connor Tomlinson, Andrew Wilson, Chang Yu Yang and Amir Ali. So, I know what you're thinking. My officer is special. My officer will rise to the top of the tree and take over from Mr. Hopkins. One of the officers here tonight, yours, may well just do that. They'll need to work hard, and currently they'll need to be promoted through all 9 ranks. Constable, Sergeant, Inspector, Chief Inspector, Superintendent, Chief Superintendent, Assistant Chief Constable, Deputy Chief Constable. Then, if they work hard, very hard, and are lucky, and are as special as you think they are, then your officer might just one day get to be the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police. I think they all deserve another round of applause, don't they? Thank you. I'd like to invite Deputy Mayor of Manchester, Bev Hughes, to say a few words, please.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. It is always genuinely a very great pleasure to come to these attestations and to see for myself the brilliant new recruits we've got coming in to become the next generation of officers in Greater Manchester Police. And I think they look such a fine group of people and such a wide range of people too. It's going to make, I think, a great contribution to our police service here in Greater Manchester. And of course, they have already achieved a great deal by getting to this point and reach this really important milestone. And I don't underestimate what that's taken. And being selected to serve as an officer in Greater Manchester Police, taking the oath and having those warranted powers. And it always kind of gets to me slightly when I hand that warrant card out, because I can see just what it means to them, and it's quite a powerful moment for me actually as well. I wanted to say thank you particularly for the parents and families who've come along today, and also our officers and our guests, because it means a great deal to them to have you here to witness this important occasion, and it means a great deal to us too. Now, my job supporting the Mayor in his role as Police and Crime Commissioner is, along with the Chief Constable, partly to ensure that Greater Manchester Police provides the people of Greater Manchester, our citizens, with the best possible service, the security, the safety and the protection that they deserve. And there can be really no more fundamental public service than that. It's absolutely critically important. But any organisation, and that includes Greater Manchester Police, is only as good as the people who work in it. And so it's also our job, myself and the Chief Constable, to try and ensure that all our people, and particularly our new recruits, realise your potential, that you've got the opportunity to train and develop, not just now, but actually throughout your career. And that's never been more important in the police service as it is now, because the demands on the police are changing all the time as criminal activity changes. The skills that we need are changing and developing, and it's our job to try and support you through that, to make sure that you achieve what you're capable of, and also that you are challenged to strive continuously throughout your career to be the best you can, because that's what we want. for the officers in Greater Manchester Police, because that's the way you'll make the greatest contribution that you can to your fellow citizens. And as the Chief Constable said, you've got responsibilities too, not only always to try to do your best, but to uphold those values of fairness, treating people with respect, and actually never compromising not just the values of the police service, but never compromising your own integrity, your own values in the way that you do things. That really is the most important thing. And I think if you can hold on to that, then you'll stay true to them. There's no place whatsoever for prejudice in today's police service. Greater Manchester is very diverse, and I'm very pleased to see such diversity represented through the recruits that we've got here this evening. It's really important that the police service, as all services, but particularly the police service, represents the people that they are serving. And, you know, the police service is changing a lot. It's changed dramatically over the last 10, 20 years. It will continue to change. And increasingly, the kind of problems the police have to deal with cannot simply be solved by enforcement alone. That is critical. For many kinds of crime, that's absolutely critical. But many of the issues the police service face can only be solved really by a kind of problem-solving approach, by working particularly in partnership with other organisations. So as well as looking towards the citizens that you're serving and thinking about how you deal with them, it's also about building relationships with many other professionals. So many of the issues involve drug and alcohol problems, mental health problems, safeguarding children who are being drawn into criminal activity through organised crime, working with children, social workers, and so on. So it's as much about working really closely with partners and getting along with partners and coming together as a team in a locality to try and work out how you can best serve those people. But today is a day of great celebration, and I really want to end on that note. I'm so very pleased to see that you've decided to join Greater Manchester Police, and I really look forward to seeing some of you as I continue in my role, seeing you get on and seeing you make that contribution that I know you want to make and that we want to see you make as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I now invite our Chief Constable Ian Hopkins to close tonight's proceedings. Sir?
Thank you, Phil. I was listening to what he was saying about becoming the Chief Constable and that one of them may take over from me. I do hope it's someone a bit sooner than some of my colleagues in front might be ready to do that. But I've no doubt, having met them last week when I went to Sedgley and spent just over an hour with them, there is some really talented people in this room this evening, and they were bursting with energy and enthusiasm. And I am absolutely no doubt that there's one or two amongst them that will be right up there in reaching the top spots of policing. But what I said to them, it isn't all about wanting to get to the top. It's about being the very best that you can be. And if that means that you want to be the very best neighbourhood officer working in one of our communities, that is as, well, in fact, in my opinion, it's more important than being the Chief Constable. If you want to be the very best detective that's helping somebody who's been the victim of serious crime or helping their family, that is equally as important. And that's one of the great things about policing. You know, we all join a police service and everybody says, well, you've only done one career, one service in your entire life. That might be true, but the variety of roles that you can undertake throughout your career is absolutely phenomenal, and I encourage them all to explore those opportunities as they enjoy their police career with Greater Manchester. One of the things that I am delighted about this evening, and I am truly delighted about it, is the number of new officers that have been apprentices, that have been special constables, and I'm thrilled that Mike Walmsley, our Chief Officer for our Special Constabulary, is here with us, and Amanda Mosley, who looks after our apprentices really well, to see their protégés, their people that they've helped achieve the goal that they've achieved this evening. We've also got former members of police staff, and we've also got 7 of our new colleagues that have got family members that are serving with GMP. Now, why am I so pleased about all of this? Because what a fantastic testimony it is to our organisation that all of those people that know us, have a relationship, a professional relationship with us, want to come and work with us, and that families are prepared to say to their loved ones, yes, it's actually a good career and it is a good organisation to work for. And that makes me feel incredibly proud. And for those of you that haven't done any of those things, I hope it really shows you that we do care, we do want talented people to come and join us, and that there is a place for everyone in Greater Manchester Police. I always like to thank the trainers. There's 1 or 2 of them dotted around the room and up on the balcony. They do a fantastic job in looking after our new colleagues, in helping to guide them, to cajole them, to give them a bit of a prod when they need it. And they are really the people that look after them in those very early, impressionable weeks and months of their policing career. And it's a bit like teaching. If you have a good trainer, you remember them for life. So I think that's what inspires our training staff. And as we're joined by new colleagues this evening, one of our colleagues who's stood down here to my left, Sergeant Louise Winterbottom, is leaving us in 8 days' time, having is about to retire. So Louise, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you. I know you've been to many, many of these, and you've supported many of our new colleagues, and we wish you very well in whatever Beyond Greater Manchester Police holds for you. I can't believe you're leaving at a time when the government have promised lots of new people to come and join us. And I was thinking about that, stood up here, and you know, there's 100 new colleagues sat in front of me, and it looks very impressive, and they all look very smart. Imagine 20 times that number of people, and that's how many we've lost over the last 10 years. So you can see why we're all getting a little bit excited about new colleagues coming to join us. But Louise, thank you very much for your service and your dedication. I always like to take this opportunity to thank the families and loved ones of my new colleagues that are here supporting them this evening. When they come up on stage and meet Bev and myself, so they're a little bit nervous, some of them are grinning, and the one thing I always say to them, is your family here? And this big smile arrives when they see that. And I think some of the reason they're nervous is not because they're coming to meet us and sign their certificate, or that tricky bit of how do they hold their certificate with me for their photograph. It's more that they're doing this in front of you, and I think that shows the importance and of the swearing of their oath and what they're doing. Doing that in front of their families this evening is so important to them. I think that's what makes them a little bit nervous. But you are all very welcome as part of the Greater Manchester Police family, and that probably, for some of you, that already means a lot because you're working for us, but for others, you perhaps don't know what that means at this moment in time. What it means is that if you need our support, we will always try to be there. Very sadly, a few weeks ago, we lost a colleague who died suddenly, and you know, we've been supporting his very young family. He's got 3 children, and his wife is pregnant with their 4th. And there's been a huge amount of support for that family, and there will continue to be for a number of years. So we will be there for you when and if you need us. And it isn't just in those extreme moments, such as I've just described. It is about everyday stuff. It's about coming to awards ceremonies, recognising service that people have given. It's about recognising the incredible feats that colleagues in front of us will get up to over the next few years, and you get to be part of that. So thank you to you, because being the family member, being the partner or a mum and dad or a loved one of one of our new colleagues, I can tell you is not easy. On occasions, they will be very late home from work, or they might not come home from work for days on end. They will miss special family moments, they will miss parents' evenings, all of those sorts of things, and you're the ones that are there to support them and look after them. So a big thank you to you, and welcome very much to the Greater Manchester Police family. We take very seriously the welfare and safety of our colleagues. It is something that increasingly, as the complexity of policing and the challenges that we face in society, has led us to think very long and hard about how we do that more and more and what we should be providing. So there are significant services available in terms of support for colleagues, but there are also a group of people who give up their time freely, and I'm delighted that the Reverend Charles Nevin and Father Barry Lomax are here at the front this evening. They're part of our chaplaincy, and the chaplaincy is for everyone. It isn't for those of us that have faith, it is for everybody, faith or no faith. They're there as part of that network, somebody to talk to, somebody to go to when you might need something that can point you in the right direction, or just listen. So I'm delighted that they're both here tonight. Now, all of our new colleagues will be going out into the 10 districts of Greater Manchester, which is very welcome, certainly by our local councillors, and Abid will be furiously counting the ones going to Manchester, I've no doubt. But I've got senior colleagues at the front from representing all of our areas across Greater Manchester, and they would love to meet our new colleagues and their families at the end afterwards. So please go and introduce yourself to them. They'll make themselves known. Bev touched on it. Policing is challenging. It is really challenging. You only have to watch the news, or if you're old-fashioned and you read a newspaper and you don't get your news on your mobile phone these days, you will see the sorts of things that we face. And the world is changing, and policing has to change. And again, when I went to meet them all last week, we had a bit of a question and answer session. You know, one of the things that they said to me is, what's the best advice that you can give us at this stage of our career? And it was, keep learning, keep changing, because you have to keep up with what's going on in society. You have to be thinking about how crime might be changing, how society's changing, and therefore, how does policing have to change to keep pace with that? And if you don't keep up with change and you're not prepared to be flexible and innovative and move forward, then it's probably not going to be the career for you. But I'm convinced that all of them are very much in that space of knowing that that's what's ahead of them, and they're thirsty to keep learning. So finally, I think the one really important thing, and this is very much aimed at my new colleagues, is that policing does give you, individually and collectively, the opportunity to do something very special. And that is to make a difference to our fellow citizens' lives. And not everybody gets to do something that special. So please treasure that opportunity and make a difference whilst being proud of representing Greater Manchester Police and Greater Manchester. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir. That concludes our attestation ceremony for this evening. Refreshments will be served in the school refectory, which is just down the corridor on the left, if you follow our staff in a second. Our colleagues are going to be staying behind just for some group photographs and some official photographs. However, I'm sure you wish to congratulate each and every one of them just one final time. We can give them one final round of applause, please. Thank you.